Bird watching is a popular hobby among people who love nature. It's a great way to enjoy the fresh air while observing birds in their natural habitats. You can also make new friends in local bird watching societies who also enjoy spending time outdoors. In this video, you will learn how to get started as a birder. You will receive some tips on bird identification, and you will become acquainted with the Bean Life Science Museum's Bird Watching Nature Experienceship. There are a few things to consider before you go on your first bird watching trip. You need to plan when and where you are going, as well as what to take with you. Deciding where to go will determine which kinds of birds you see. Different species of birds like different habitats, so almost anywhere you go outside, you will find birds. Because water is essential for all living things, birds are often easy to spot near bodies of water, such as the ocean, ponds, lakes, and rivers. Your birding experience will be more successful if you take a few key items with you. First, you'll need some binoculars. These are necessary to help you observe important details like feather colors or patterns. Binoculars are usually categorized by the magnification and the objective lens diameter. For example, if a pair of binoculars is 7 by 50, any object you see produces an image as if you were 7 times closer to the object. The objective lens diameter determines how much light can be gathered to form an image. It is usually expressed in millimeters. The most popular size of binoculars for bird watching is 8 by 42. Some serious birders use spotting scopes for an even closer look at birds that are sitting still. You will also want to take a field guide to aid you in identifying the birds you see. There are many different kinds of field guides. There is even an iPhone application that connects users to various photo databases. Most people like to keep track of their field trips by writing down each event in a field notebook. When recording information, you should include things like location, date, weather, and the species of birds you see. You can also obtain a checklist from your local Division of Wildlife office, which will contain the species names for the birds found in your area.
Each time I go out on a little short trip or a long trip, I always take one of these and keep track of what I see. And since I've been doing this for over 50 years, I have close to 1,000 of those checklists. Say if somebody asked me, okay, what could I see in Washington County during the winter, then all I have to do is just go back to some of my checklists that I have from southern Utah and pull it out and tell them what's there. And it's also become useful in terms of keeping track of what birds are maybe declining a little bit, which ones are going up, and how some of the habitat that's being lost affects the numbers of birds.
It may be helpful to sketch a particular bird if you cannot identify it at the time, so you can reference it later. You may want to consult an expert to help you identify that particular bird.
You look for size and shape and color and habitat and of course sound. Almost everybody knows that this is a duck just because of the shape. They have webbed feet, they have a bill that is used for straining. A lot of the times you don't always see the color on the bird, so you can go by silhouette. These two birds look a lot alike. They're both black and white. These are both males. You can tell that by the red on the back. But the way you can tell them apart is size. But if you haven't had a lot of experience with them, then you have to go with something else. And that is the length of the bill compared to the length of the head. So with this one, this is a downy woodpecker. And if you'll notice, its bill is shorter than the width of the head. And this is the hairy woodpecker. And if you'll notice, the bill is about the same length or maybe a little longer than the width of the head. So even though they're both really similar with the white underparts and the black and white speckled back, you can tell the difference by looking at the bill. So color is a really interesting way to identify the cardinal. It's pretty hard to mistake this for anything else, with the red body and the black face and the heavy yellow bill because it's a seed eater. A bird that we have here in the West, and it's a favorite and a real colorful bird, is the western tanager. This is a really beautiful bird with the yellow, the black, and it has an orangish red head. Behavior is really important too. Whether it creeps up a tree like a creeper or whether it comes down a tree like a nuthatch. This is a red-naped sapsucker. What it does is it will drill holes in willows, and the sap will come to those holes, and then insects will come to the sap, and then it'll come in and feed on the insects. A really important concept is habitat birding. If you're going down by Utah Lake, then you would expect to see certain birds, like waterfowl and shorebirds. If you're going up Provo Canyon, then you will see maybe some waterfowl, but you'll also see small birds along the side in the trail and in the willows and places like that. If you go to the desert, out west, then you're going to see horned larks and maybe some different kind of raptors. And song is, for me, the most important for identifying birds. I work for the Forest Service during the summer doing bird surveys, and they start early in the morning before you can see the birds, and so everything is auditory. My dad always liked to say that the western meadowlark said, "St. George, pretty little town." And if I can stress anything about learning to identify birds, it would be to make the effort to learn how to identify them by their sounds.
Attending a bird-watching nature experienceship with the Bean Life Science Museum is a great introduction to birdwatching. Please bring your own pair of binoculars, and if you have a field guide, bring that as well. Birdwatching is a great way to learn many fun things about specific species of birds, such as behavior, interactions, habitat, migration patterns, and calls. You will also undoubtedly gain a love for nature and the outdoors.
I read that birding is the second most popular hobby in the United States. Gardening is the first, and then birding is the second. And that's just not chasing birds, that's what a birder does, but a bird watcher sometimes will just sit and watch them come into their feeders. And so by virtue of that, that's become a really important economic factor to this country. With bird seeds, and feeders, the sales of those, and then field guides and optical equipment, because a lot of people now are taking pictures of birds.
I bought her a Peterson bird guide for Christmas, and so she started calling out birds that were in our backyard, and my competitive spirit kind of kicked in. And I says, well, I need to step up, so I started wanting to do that, and we've kind of made it a family experience.
As a teacher, I've tried to encourage my students to experience the joy of discovery, to see them look through a spotting scope and see that bird really clearly for the first time, and hear them say, wow, that's kind of neat.
But it's really helpful to have him help us actually see the different characteristics that we're supposed to look at, like the beak and the legs, the eye color and things like that.
I've actually learned quite a bit. I'm not a big bird watcher, so coming on this little extra credit thing was kind of cool. It's pretty neat, actually.
I enjoy being in the outdoors and knowing what I'm seeing.
Like before, I'd see a bird, and it was just this black thing that would fly around. And now when I use my binoculars, I can actually see the colors on it, and I can actually identify what it is, and then I realize that there's so many out there.
It gives a great appreciation for our kids as well. So, our son can call out certain birds now, and they can have appreciation.
He's only 5. I love that they have the reverence for life, too, that they see birds for something to appreciate and study and understand what they do.
I've never seen a bald eagle in real life before, and so that was probably the coolest part.
Birding, for me, is a great hobby because it's educational, it's relaxing, you can do it anywhere, it doesn't cost a lot of money, it doesn't have greens fees associated with it. Once you make the initial investment, you're there. And for me, I've actually been able to get a pretty good summer job just because I can identify birds.